Hello everyone and welcome to CodeCast by STL Tech Talk, where we'll be giving you the content you want and need: instructional, informative, unique and insightful commentary on programming, code, and technology. From robots to roadhouses, my name is JJ Hammond, and I am joined tonight by two coding experts. First up, our guest for this evening. He has been in some form of IT for the last decade now. He loves it. He's been a developer, an architect, a consultant, and a dev manager. He is most passionate about working effectively and removing obstacles for developers. As a developer and as a technology specialist for Microsoft, he has helped some of the larger organizations in the North Central United States with a variety of developer topics. His specialties include Visual Studio's Team Foundation Server, Azure for Dev/Test, and automation for continuous delivery. His role at Microsoft lets him explore the value and all great. That's why he's here tonight. Outside of work, he runs a 1,200-person developer conference in St. Louis and has an awesome Xbox gamer score. Who wouldn't say that I'm the best ever? He has a wife and two kids that do take up some of his time too, for sure. But he is a proud husband and has some kids there, so more power to you. The incredible Jeff Fattic. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight, Jeff.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you, so thank you again. But this show is not possible without my fellow tech brother, King of Minnesota, King of the Hill in Minnesota, rather, striving to provide development knowledges to the masses, and has spent the last 20 years architecting and implementing highly scalable ASP.NET applications throughout the Twin Cities. The world is a better place with him in it. Say hello, Gus Emery.
Hey, JJ, how you doing? Jeff, thanks for joining us tonight. We should have a pretty good show tonight, I hope.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. And for all those who know that I sound a little different, it's because I'm at Nebula STL. It's a local startup incubator where companies can come in and do hackathons and code and just have a really good time. They have a bunch of really cool stuff. Go check them out, www.nebulastl.com. It's an awesome, awesome site and an awesome place to be. So for those of you who want to check that kind of stuff out, please hit it up. Thank you, Gus, again for being on. I'm doing great tonight. Also, everyone follow us on Twitter, #CodeCast or at STL CodeCast. Follow us on Facebook at STL Tech Talk, Google+, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Windows Phone, TuneIn Radio, or listen directly on the site. Visit stltechtalk.com to keep up with our tech news, podcast, CodeCast. Find out how you can advertise with us or hire us to consult you on your technological needs. And don't forget, you can interact with the show by sending us feedback to podcast@stltechtalk.com. And if you're watching us live, you can ask us questions via the chat room, and we'll do our best to answer those questions in a timely manner. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kick off this awesome show with the first question to Jeff. What first got you started in technology?
Sure, yeah. So actually been in technology to some degree or another, I guess, since I had like a VIC-20 back in the day. But really, professionally, I worked in the printing industry for a few years, and if you can imagine how fast and innovative print has gotten, you'd imagine probably why I left printing and moved into technology. Been doing it ever since. So just really running away from that.
Well, that's cool. So what was that transition like? I mean, what was your first kind of aha moment, like this is where I need to be?
I had a really great opportunity to work at a consulting company here in St. Charles, right outside of St. Louis, where they were basically spinning up a team of entry-level developers, and so I jumped on board the opportunity. And man, it was a great experience to learn with 20 other people at your same level and just get it going. So
yeah, and totally the passion's there. You got to have it for sure. Gus, you're up.
Sure. So why don't you describe for us, Jeff, what you actually do for a living?
If I didn't do a good enough job right at the very beginning.
Oh no.
No. Go ahead.
Yeah. So. What my role at Microsoft is to help enterprise companies, the larger companies in North Central United States, adopt our tools, learn .NET, better use Visual Studio, Team Foundation Server. Really just my goal is to help them be successful. I mean, I don't get paid any kind of, other stipend or anything like that. It's just to help our customers do well. So.
Okay. So what keeps you fresh in that role? How do you stay fresh and in tune?
Yeah, it's super important. Like, and it's actually the thing that attracted me to this role is that I have to stay up on those skills. It's a requirement. As a consultant, I would get away with a lot of things where, hey, I'm working on a VB6 project today. That's just what got me off the bench. But in this role, I only talk about the latest, greatest. I have to understand how people can move the latest, greatest. So I spend a lot of time, and Microsoft is really great about giving you time to do that too.
Well, yeah, Microsoft is, but are your clients actually okay with you having time?
Not always. Time is definitely precious. But like I said, the management here at Microsoft is really good about, hey, just block your calendar, right? Just make it visible to everybody, and you are not if that's all day Friday for you, then that's what it is.
Well, that's actually awesome. So I've got a question here, and I know we'll get to a little bit more of your community outreach later, but I know we've talked in the past kind of about STEM and going out to schools and whatnot. What's your community outreach been in the St. Louis area in that form? What have you been doing?
Yeah. So one of the things we've kind of been doing for a long time at Microsoft is reaching out to schools and talking about career days and things like that. It's amazing how many kids are still under the impression that IT is, not a place to go into.
Right.
Since the Bush years, probably that was true. So it's been a while, and you have to kind of re-educate them on that. But lately, reinvigorated that by purchasing a 3D printer, taking that around to schools, and what that enabled me to do is really broaden my reach, because I can go to little kids now even and get them excited about technology, and it's amazing how much those kind of younger kids get it. Like, they're just amazed and have so much curiosity and imagination when they see something like a 3D printer. So very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, got to keep people engaged. I mean, I guess my biggest question, because I'm always trying to find ways to about continuity. I get people engaged, but when I'm not there, or when a person doesn't have a cheerleader necessarily, or that kind of inner drive or whatever, how has it been for? Do you check in? Do you want feedback, or how do you keep that conversation going?
So as I've gotten older and gotten into more time-intensive role, this is getting harder and harder, but. What I do now is I do put it back in their hands, right? Like, I make sure they understand that there is an opportunity. I can come out and talk to your class or your team or whatever again, but I'm kind of putting it on you, to get back in touch with me in 3 months or 6 months or whatever makes sense, because I've got so many others that are willing to reach back out that I can't handhold like I used to, I guess.
Sure.
Yep. So one other question for you on that same topic. You were talking about the 3D printer, and that's very engaging. Is there any other ways that you engage, school-aged kids or even clients for that matter to kind of get more interested in technology? Yeah,
we've done lots of different things with schools, and it depends on the age, right? But one of the things that I've been talking to a lot of schools lately about is like the Bing Rewards program. So we have a lot of kids that collect box tops and hook tags and all that stuff, and you get a ton of these, literally like a metric ton of hook tabs, and that makes like $200 for your school, right? It's like, holy cow, that's not really getting us there. Whereas like Bing allows you to just search. And you get big points, and you can be selfish and turn them in for like, Xbox gift certificates or sign up for different sweepstakes. But you can also turn your points in for contributing to your local schools, and they can win like Surface tablets. And if you get enough people doing it, you can literally get like a tablet a month per class.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, it's a fun little game for people, and so kids really get into it. They build their parents in, and yeah, it's kind of fun.
And it's almost
get them all you're going. Get them
Yeah,
all the
yeah, it's almost bribed learning too, because in order to do searches, you're usually learning something that you're searching about, right? So
Yeah.
you're kind of getting a reward for actually learning. Which
Yeah.
kind
There's
of
a program that comes with it that it's under the same umbrella of Being Rewards, but it's this learning plan program where we'll actually guide younger kids. There's different age groups, but it's not for high school and college. For younger kids, they can actually guide through. We'll tell them kind of what to search for, and then they can go learn about, why are tigers endangered or something like that, right? They'll learn all the aspects of it. It's really cool.
That's cool. That's really cool. I'm glad to hear that, actually, because that's one of the things that I think that we need to engage, especially at a younger age, is get tablets and certain types of tech pieces into kids' hands, right? Let them learn how to utilize them and get used to them, and then sooner or later, hopefully, they're like myself and you and some of the other people, and they want to actually make them do what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
Give them some kind of commands and make them do something that doesn't normally do, which is awesome. Getting off that topic, you're the TFS expert in this neck of the woods, so why don't you tell us some of the cool things that have happened in TFS in the last year?
Yeah. So, one of the big things, one of the biggest changes, I guess, is our cloud TFS, right? So, underneath this umbrella of Visual Studio Online, which is really just a set of developer services and has nothing to do with Visual Studio, the client, being online, but it gives us a cloud TFS option, and it's really pushed our developer division, the people that make Visual Studio and TFS. It's really pushed them to understand what it's like to architect and build and release for modern app development using cloud, software as a service, that kind of stuff. So really been awesome experience, and our customers, they want it faster than we're ready to give it to them, to be honest. We're kind of constantly guiding them, like, for certain customers, this isn't for you yet because you require some advanced capabilities.
Sure.
But it's coming, right? So that's been a really big change for my role.
That's actually pretty cool. And as I remember, it's free for 5 users, right? So a small startup could easily use TFS for free, a specific amount of build hours, which isn't huge. I think, 60 minutes or something like that? Or
Yeah.
Yeah, but it still allows you to collaborate. So, say JJ and I are doing a project, we can collaborate through one person's Visual Studio Online account and check source code in, get our Git repository, get our TFS repository, do our work items, do everything that we want, and it just takes care of everything for us, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I know a lot of you guys out there have MSDN subscriptions, and so for you, it actually doesn't cost anything else either. It's free for you, and you can join as many Visual Studio Online accounts as people want you in, and you can contribute that way, which is awesome. The build stuff is a great example too of how we've learned a lot. Where we do have this 60-minute sort of benchmark, I guess, at this point of free build minutes, but after that, it's $0.05 a minute.
Oh.
So it's ridiculously cheap, right? It's like almost not even worth putting your credit card in for.
Yeah. Well,
right.
And from my background, because I know TFS a little, just a little bit, builds don't necessarily take all that long.
No. Right.
Especially when you're talking about small work group builds. Now, when you get to an enterprise, that's different. And
but they're not the target audience for that anyway. So you won't ever have to worry about that being a situation.
Right.
No, exactly. But at that point, can't you then attach like a local build server as well to that, or do you have to upgrade?
And I actually, for my enterprise customers that really, really want to use Visual Studio Online for whatever reasons, I actually recommend that, because exactly what they do is you can actually use an on-prem build server.
Oh, nice. Good, Gus. Yeah.
Or one of the things I've got set up, and I can talk to you guys more about this later, but is I have an on-prem build installation, but I'm running it in a virtual machine in the cloud.
Oh, that's nice. Cool. Yeah.
So works fantastically with Visual Studio Online, and basically I pay whatever it was, 12 cents a minute for, 12 cents an hour for this virtual machine that sits out there all the time for me and just runs builds and all the stuff I need it to do. So
that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, and then can you tie release management to that too, or do you have to have a full on-prem TFS instance?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not the best answer, but it is currently limited to only being an on-prem offering. So release management has to be on-prem installed. But in that scenario I just mentioned, where I have a build server running in an IaaS virtual machine, I have my release management on that same machine, so I can do release management with Visual Studio Online and have my builds all there. And again, 12 cents an hour is all it costs me. So.
Yeah, which is not bad, and that actually gets around that whole on-prem piece, right? Because it just wants an infrastructure of some kind to actually be able to control. Right?
Exactly.
I'm assuming it's AD, right?
I don't have AD set up in mine. You could. You
Cool.
could go that way. For me, I use a lot of it for like the developer conference and other things where not all the people contributing are in my Active Directory or.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, which makes sense. Well, to get rid of everything else, why don't you go ahead and show us what you got?
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll mute out and we'll ask you questions as we go along.
Yeah, we haven't had a good demo in a while, Gus.
I know. This is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
All right. No pressure now. Jeez, look at
that. Right. Come on, buddy. I got my. This is your college tuition. You better roll me some aces.
Yeah. You don't do this well, you're fired from Microsoft. Get out. All right. I'm going to show you guys a couple of things here. Let me get rid of some of this noise first.
Yep. Take your time.
So while he's knocking that out, me and Gus are working on a project together, and we're using VS Online and a whole bunch of different services and stuff like that. And it's really cool to meet with the guys who and gals who are responsible for this kind of stuff, and to see just all the different variations of it on a theme, right? That it's just so cool. To see all the different applications that we can do and the different things that we can build, and like what you were just talking about, on-prem, off-prem, virtual machines, all that stuff's just very, very, very hot.
Well, it's so powerful too.
Yeah, we're looking for ways to make it easier, right? I mean, that's what my team is all about. Is really about making it something that developers have a lot of access to it and can do great things really quickly. We're all getting pressured as developers, and this has been since my first days as a developer. You all get pressured to produce more, write faster. You got a backlog that is longer than anything you saw the day before, and it's just really difficult. So anything that my team can do to help make that easier is what we're really all about. And so again,
and we thank you for that, sir.
We try. All right, can you guys see the screen? I should have asked that.
Just fine.
Okay, good. Actually, let's go back one here. So this is a virtual machine that I use that I highly encourage you guys to check out if you have the internet bandwidth to pull it down. But it's Brian Keller is a guy on our team who tries to keep this pretty up to date. And it's basically it's a Windows Server VM, but it's got TFS and Visual Studio and all the stuff you need wired up, even with some fake data, so you can run through some hands-on labs. Whoops, I gotta refresh that probably. So a really, really great way to learn more about these things without having to have the infrastructure yourself. So let me just refresh that. And I do have a copy of this up in Azure as well. It's just faster to run it like this for a webinar. All right.
Makes total sense to me. If you're local, it's much quicker.
Yes. All right. So one of the things I like to show here, I'm just going to open Visual Studio and open our project. This Fabricam call center, and that should take us a second. There we go. Then I'm going to change the builds. We've been talking about builds quite a bit here, so let's go in there, and we're going to edit this. And there's two things I'll show you here. The first thing is to use it with our release management feature set. you have to go to this process tab and set up the build process template. You don't have to use the one that it's showing you here, release default template 11.1. You can take your existing templates that you may have already customized and just add in some of the release activities. It's really simple to do. There's plenty of how-tos on that. But it basically just gives you this stuff at the bottom so that you can tell it, hey, I want to release my build, so set it to true. And that's really all you need to get this thing going. Now I'm going to also turn this on to continuous integration so that I don't have to kick off the build manually. And I'll show you what our site looks like today. And again, I'm using a lot of the Brian Keller stuff, so you guys are seeing stuff that you can reproduce and show your bosses and friends and whatever yourselves. But here, I've got this site, Fabricam Fiber Support, and we're just gonna, and this is my dev site on port 8000. My QA site looks exactly the same, but it's running on port 9000. So, we'll go back to dev for a second. All right, so I'm gonna make a change, and we'll drop into our views, shared, go to our master page, and we'll come down here and change support to let's talk code. So super crazy easy change, but let's check this in. And important change. And what this will do, and this is one of my favorite parts of all of this, is I'm just checking in my code, but it's automatically going to kick off my build because I changed that to a continuous integration trigger. So I can automatically trigger this, and then I can automatically, if I wish, have it deploy to a dev environment. In this case, it's going to the same machine that you see here, but as I mentioned before, we could easily have this all running up in Azure with Visual Studio Online, or however we want to do it, and deploy to an Azure virtual machine or a website. All that stuff would work fine. So hopefully my build will behave here. I can make this bigger, I guess. You guys probably appreciate that, huh? Any questions so far you guys have?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're just letting you go.
I'm the worst person to have, because like I'll just sit here and go, I'll do it all night. I'll just I'm like the kid that's why like I'm like, just keep giving me the information.
Yeah. So this part here is just your normal build routine. So we mentioned before, they usually take a minute, 2 minutes to run a build for most apps. This is not a complex, huge app, but it usually takes about a minute to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pulling in, your NuGet dependencies and stuff like that.
Yep, which makes sense. No, the builds usually, like I said, builds don't take that long. Some larger builds do take that long. So.
Yeah, you can always add in so much stuff that it can take long, right? But this is definitely when you might say, hey, look, either I don't want to pay for those minutes of a hosted build controller, I'm going to use my on-prem one. Those are all options you have, and that makes sense. Options.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so the majority of the build is now done, and this into the release part. And I'm not going to bore you by walking through every line here, but this line here is really the magic of where we're calling back out to our release template and saying, hey, I need you to know that I have a build ready for you. And that's really all it's done. That's all TFS is going to do to talk to this release management server, which is a very critical piece, because that means that you don't actually even need, to be honest, you don't even need TFS to use release management. You could have your own build systems and have it kick off the same thing using a command line that we ship with that product. So.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Then once this guy is going.
Well, and this kind of brings up that other, idea and this other movement from that cloud development, essentially. I mean, that idea that, it used to be where you do a whole bunch of edits offline and stuff, but just so much of this stuff is just happening either in real time or, in that cloud so fast. And I think it's great, because it allows the developer to be a little bit more agile. But I'm sure that some developer somewhere is like, yeah, I'm agile. Yeah, I got like 5 other things they're giving me to do.
That's true. Yep. Yeah. The faster we make you, the more people give you work to do. But hopefully one day we'll catch up on that.
Hopefully,
it changes here, right? So it changed to Let's Talk Code. So to your point, exactly, JJ. Like as a developer, I could have this set up so I deploy to my own Azure subscription, and I can test out my changes or kick it over to a team member and say, hey, can you test it or integrate your pieces? And I didn't have to manually deploy this. I didn't have to do anything but check in code, right? Super, super simple. Now, it didn't automatically update my QA, so my QA instance still has support here, right? Because what release management also allows you to do, actually the really cool part of release management, isn't the automated deployment steps. You could do that with PowerShell and batch files if you wanted to today. The really cool part is being able to have this like stage that you map, dev, QA, prod, and then put approvals around that. So in an enterprise, you may come in here and define dev, QA, prod, and then put different people that have to approve it through those stages. Now, for me in a dev environment, I'm not going to put any approvals in that, right? I own this machine, I own this app. I'll approve it automatically, and so that's what I've done here. I'll just let it fire all the way through. And when my team lead, Brian Keller, decides, you know what, this latest build you did, Jeff, that's the one we want to go to QA. That one looks good. He can approve it for QA. And then someone from QA may come in, and if I have this unchecked, someone from QA might come in and say, okay, just because Jeff and Brian think it's ready to go, I have to finish up some other things. I don't want you just wiping out my environment. I'm going to take my time on this, and when I'm ready, I can say go. And this is a really critical thing that not a lot of people think about, but when the QA and ops for production can pull the latest builds on demand instead of pulling in developers to install and configure and test those things, you've really saved a lot of time, right? Developers don't even need to know that QA is pulling this thing in. That is really, really awesome.
That is pretty awesome, actually. That's impressive.
Yeah, totally. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you and I'm like, wait a minute, he's not responding. My mic's off. No, I was thinking this. I was just going to echo what Gus said. No, this is I like that.
Yeah, so really easy, hands-off kind of thing. Again, trying to keep developers productive and still maintain a high level of quality in a very fast-moving, continuous delivery development style.
Mm-hmm. So here's a question. So how do you know which build, app, version, etc. is in each location?
Yeah. So this little summary screen here, I wish I could blow this up, Clark. But this guy here is showing you that I have 2 items that have gone through dev.
Okay.
I've only have 1 original version in QA and prod still. That's not really clear here, but it's a summary view. If I click on these guys, though, you can actually see for this dev piece, I've got build 5 and build 6 that have gone through dev, and 5, the previous build, went all the way to prod, actually. So that's why you see that 1 all the way across.
Oh, I see. Yep, got it.
Yeah, and we have a lot of work to do on this UI. There's all kinds of things we want to roll out here in the very near future. But in essence, you'll have access to be able to look at what is running in QA and what build is that, and then what is in that build, and you can go dive into all of that traceability detail. So.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is because I know with build numbers, so it's the 6th one that was built on 7/9/2013. That doesn't tell me anything, right? That doesn't tell me what packets were placed in there, what revision we are in the app, things like that. So that's kind of why I was asking that question. I'm going to assume that the release manager has to know that portion of it.
Yeah, and this is where the integration with TFS is really nice. I mean, again, you don't need TFS to do all this stuff, but where the integration is really nice is that I can dive into these builds. I can go look up the details, and this one's not going to be very don't have much work in there, but
well, no, I was just going to say that to get used to doing it, it should be. It's good to just get used to doing it, because I can see devs just doing that. You know, like you're saying, you don't necessarily need TFS for that, but I think it's still good to have it up and going and kind of a part of your workflow. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Definitely.
Yep. And so if you can still see my screen there, this is build 6, which is the latest one we rolled out here, and all the associated check-ins since the last build. So although you guys only saw me check in one line of code, right? There was a lot of other things that went with this prior to that.
Which makes sense. So then you can track the change sets back. If you click on a change set, you'll see the files, correct?
Yep.
Cool.
Not very exciting, but we can click on one of those and you can see the differences. In this case, we added some lines of code to the solution file. But yeah, you can see all the stuff involved with that check-in. I don't have anything super attractive there, but yeah. And if you had work items, and I hope more and more people are using TFS work items, you've definitely seen that trend. Then you can actually not only see change sets, but you'd see bug fixes that were checked in as part of that change set, and new features, and all that stuff is great communication to the roles beyond dev, right? So QA needs to know what to test, and ops might need to know what they're supporting and what they're looking for from a monitoring and troubleshooting. And so you're giving them that information without having to manually write it down.
Okay, that's actually pretty impressive. How will this scale pretty well for an enterprise, or is for multiple users, or what have you seen so far? Because this is a fairly new product, right?
Yes, it is fairly new to Microsoft, though. So we acquired this from a partner that was building this for a long time. The partner's name was InCycle. The original product was in release. And so, yeah, this has been out there for years, I think since 2008 or something like that.
Okay.
And it's been rolled out to enterprises. So these guys have evolved it inside their shop, and now we've got it, and we're evolving it further. So.
Okay, no, that's really cool. And we can lock or a person can lock this down, right? So each person would have certain restrictions. How about separations of duty for production? Can you do like multiple authentications, or what kind of configuration do you have for that?
Yeah. So unlike a lot of stuff in TFS, where I typically encourage customers, don't put a lot of security on things. You're just going to create admin headache. Everybody works for your company. They're not trying to steal everything. With release management, you actually do want some of those things that you just mentioned, Gus. You want to be able to make sure that the right people are approving it to move to production, for instance, right?
Yes.
Obviously, the devs think that their stuff that they just added is fantastic and everybody should have access to it, but somebody has to step in there typically and say, yes, this is the right thing for our customers. So you do have security capabilities. You can do it at the stage level. You can get really granular with this kind of stuff. Typically, most of my customers kind of just start at this screen, though, and just make sure that they have the right approvers. And like you said, if I want multiple approvers, I can add that as well. I did have one weird request at one point, or weird to me at least, where people want to be able to have multiple approvers. So let me just make an example here. So we want Brian and Julia, and my screen resolution is going to act weird, but I want Brian, Julia, and Adam all as approvers. What that means in this case is that all three of these guys have to approve to move from dev to QA.
Okay.
But what I had, if you wanted just one of these people to approve it, then you could put them all in a group and make that your one approver, and that way any one person from that group could approve it. The weird request I had was people wanted to be able to vote. They wanted to be able to say, well, what if I only need 2 of the 3 people to approve it? We don't support that today. I don't think that's something we're going to do. I've seen that in previous roles where that gets gamed pretty quickly, right? All I got to do is befriend Brian and Julia, and even if Adam has legitimate reasons not to let this go, he got overridden. So I don't think we're going to chase that scenario, but
That makes total sense to me, actually. The nice thing, though, is that we can have multiple approvers on each level, right? Because a lot of companies will have certain times of the year or certain periods or certain policies, right, that they have to have a director approval. Well, if you had a director group, you could add the director group as an approver, and anybody in that director group could say, yes, it's okay. Right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now that makes a lot of sense. That's actually fairly flexible. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's like a good example of that here, Gus, is somebody from the QA team can approve it, but it still won't go to prod until Annie, their director, also approves it, right? So definitely has the capabilities to be pretty flexible. And we have more ideas we want to add to this.
Okay.
But
that's cool. So those groups are those TFS groups or AD groups?
It can be both, and actually, today it's more like release management groups and AD groups, but you can definitely get TFS groups in there, and it's
so they're built-in groups that you could add an Active Directory group into then instead of just a person. Perfect.
Yeah.
So it acts just like TFS then.
Yeah, you don't need to have your domain admins create every group and membership. You could have someone with admin permissions do some of that.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
okay.
very cool.
That's actually really, really cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the way that works.
Yep, and I can't encourage you enough to go check it out. Either use this Brian Keller VM, or I'll add my a link to my walkthrough maybe and send it to these guys. So if somebody wants to step through and build it all up themselves in Azure, it's not too bad.
We love the show notes. We love the show notes, especially Kevin.
The show notes work really well. Especially considering it'll be out there forever.
Yeah.
So don't mess up.
Yeah.
That's what's awesome about the internet. It never lets you live those things down.
yeah, definitely. Do you have anything else to show, Jeff, or
let me switch it back.
pretty much done with that? Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got another question for you. What do you do when you're not near your keyboard? What do you do for fun and excitement?
Jeez, I guess play Xbox. I'm always near a computer, no doubt. So.
So screen of some kind, right?
Yeah.
So what's your current game? What are you playing?
Right now I'm playing. There's like an extension to I don't know if you guys know XCOM: Enemy Unknown.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. So it's a tactical strategy kind of thing, and there's an extension of that I just discovered and kind of diving into that. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool. What's your favorite game to date?
Oh wow, really like the Assassin's Creed series. I don't know if I can those, but those are crazy exciting.
So
those are pretty cool. I like. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, but didn't Thief come out before Assassin's Creed?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I was into that, and I was like, well, if this is anything like Thief, and then I was like, yeah, this is right up my alley, for sure.
Yeah, and Thief was recently remade, and it's really good still. I enjoy that game a lot, too.
I wouldn't mind playing the remastered Master Chief Halo games. That'd be pretty hot.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good one. Yep.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into Halo. I know, Microsoft guy, not playing Halo or anything, but I just haven't gotten into that. I've gotten into all the first-person shooters. I love all that stuff. So that's kind of the stuff that I've been playing with my stuff, and I've got the Xbox One, but I haven't had a chance to play with it much.
Oh my God, send it to me, Kevin. It's like having a Porsche and being like, yeah, there it is. Not going to drive it, but there it is.
If I drive it, I get tickets. I mean, come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep me other things.
Yeah, so do you find yourself accidentally coming across other Microsofties when you're maybe playing an Xbox game that you're like, oh, I want to take that son of a gun out, Like, he's my first on my kill list.
Yeah, some of my favorite multiplayer sessions have been with other coworkers. The other one that's really interesting, though, is the people that claim they work at Microsoft that don't.
Oh, sure.
Oh,
run into that sometimes. So.
And you're like, oh, do you, sir? Well, here's a grenade.
Right. Actually, I'm on the real Xbox One beta, and I know that's not in there. So
So this is completely off track, but it's still with coding and development. Do you see Project Spark as a way to engage fellow, the youth, and do you think that that was a cool move on Microsoft's part? Disclaimer: I think it is, just because I enjoy it. But what do you think?
Yeah, I very much think it is. My daughter and I have played with that quite a bit. It's a great way to start thinking about looping and if-then statements. All that stuff becomes second nature without it being work.
Right.
That's really, really awesome for kids to get those complex, simple to us because we've been in the business, but complex topics down in their heads. I think, logical math and things like that are not stuff that come naturally. So that really gets you far along. The only complaint I have about Project Spark is really minor. But it does require a pretty beefy internet connection.
It does.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. It totally does. I'm pulling like close to 60 megs, and I'm good. So I can imagine if it's anything less than that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it would work very well on mine. I can guarantee that. Mine's pulling like 20, and if I'm doing that, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Other than that, I do know that you're one of the founders and people that works on St. Louis Days of .NET, which I've spoken at.
Yeah.
And, you're close to JJ, who's also in Missouri.
Oh yeah.
Little south of you there. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the conference and what's coming up and all that?
Yeah. So same time frame this year. We have November, basically 13th through 15th, depending on what sessions you're coming to and stuff. But so same time frame as last year. We still have speaker submissions open. So if you're interested in speaking, go look at stlDodn.com.
Yep, and we'll have that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, for sure. You can submit. Only 5 days left to submit for speaking. So get that going if you're interested. If you've never spoke before, doesn't mean you'll be discounted. We try to get some new blood in there all the time, so highly encourage you to check that out. If you don't want to speak, still you can attend. We don't have registration open yet, but keep an eye on that same site, and we'll keep you updated.
And we're gonna be promoting the heck out of it because we're gonna be there. We're gonna do all the recordings we did from last year. So we suggest if people want to see these guys in action and some of the speakers and how cool they are, just check them out. I mean, it's an awesome place. I love the atmosphere. You guys run a really nice deal, and we had a lot of fun last year. We loved it. That's how we met Gus, and this conference is definitely one of those where it's just like it's close. It's really close.
The one thing I want to say too, and this is for attendees and even for possible future speakers, feel free to grab a speaker in the hallway, because most of them are more than happy to answer any of your questions. Talk, share, network, whatever, because I know some people think, oh, they're a speaker, we shouldn't bother them. Most of them actually would prefer to be bothered, unless, of course, they're running to the next session, which then is an excuse. But I just wanted to say that because I know sometimes when I walk up and talk to people, they say, well, I didn't know if I should bother you. Well, of course, if you have a question or you have comments or something, please tell us. We love to hear that stuff. Yeah,
it's really a good point because, we don't pay the speakers or anything. These guys do it because they want to talk about things. So.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, and I have to say there's hardly a profession like this one where these individuals really they've built something, and we talked to Miguel Castro about this. Look at what I have created. It is so cool. I have to tell everybody about it.
Yep,
and that's really an awesome feeling, and I think it's contagious. And I think that anyone who's thinking about going should definitely go. And I'm not saying that just to get more people to go and pay money, whatever. I'm just saying that it's very authentically, it's inspiring, and you get to meet people and network and stuff. So, and reach out to these guys. They're really awesome. Scott Spradlin was on the show. We talked with him and just all you guys, Kevin Strauss and everybody. So or Jeff Strauss, sorry. And, so it's just really, really cool. So definitely go check them out, stlouisdays.net, and sign up for their pre-compiler sessions and everything you can.
Yeah, everything's working.
So we're kind of getting well known for our parties. That's a way to sort of force you to network and hang out and meet new people. It's actually a really big important part of it. We don't charge you anything extra for any of that. We pay for all the food and drinks and stuff. So there's no reason not to check it out and make some new friends.
Completely agree. Go ahead, JJ.
No, I was just getting ready to say we have some announcements coming up. So Gus, why don't you go ahead and let our consumers know? No, our users. We got them. Sure. Let them know what we got coming up next. And Jeff, if you have anything that's coming up that you want to talk about from Microsoft's standpoint, we'd be more than happy to hear that. So go ahead, Gus.
Or for yours, in fact, if you're speaking anywhere or have any code camps or anything,
yes,
please, speak up. But next week we have Brad Urani coming on the show. We've got kind of a couple of topics on that I'll update next week. I want to keep people kind of in the loop. But he's going to come on and talk about a few of his things and have that. It should be pretty good. The week after that, which I've been trying to open here and it's just not opening for me the correct way, we actually have another interesting guest, if it was open here, which is Richard Campbell from .NET Rocks. That'll be July 9th, and he's coming on an hour earlier because of his time zone, and we're going to actually talk about podcasting, tech, development, laptops, hardware, a little bit of STEM, I think, as well, because he's kind of into that, but mostly kind of some tips for beginning podcasters, but then again with a heavy incentive on tech, and wherever we go from there should be really fun. So he's an interesting guy, and he's very, very smart. So I think it's going to be one heck of an episode.
Absolutely. So Jeff, do you have any cool things coming up, or?
Yeah. So there's actually a DevOps series that I've been part of. The live recording's already over, but you can check it out on my blog site, jfattic.wordpress.com. Read the blogs if you want, but also see the links to some of our TechNet radio shows. And that'll be a focus for us in our coming fiscal year. DevOps and quality are kind of our big themes. So.
Cool. Nice. Can you give a quick little spiel on what DevOps actually is?
Oh, yeah, that would be gorgeous. Yes.
So it's actually a lot simpler than people think. It's really just the collaboration between development and ops to try and bridge that gap that, especially in the enterprise, you guys all see it, this silo that happens where developers throw code over the fence and say, good luck with this. And ops guys just complain about the terrible code and all the changes they have to make and issues, performance, and really just trying to bridge that gap.
So what you're saying is you're taking our fun away.
Yeah. I mean, I have to find something else to gripe about. Back to
exactly
wife or whatever.
Exactly. Well, that's cool. JJ, you got anything else there?
Of course. Dude, we have so much coming up with STL Tech Talk. Strange Loop Conference, we're going to be there. We're going to be at Startup Voodoo. It's a new kind of South by Southwest thing that's going to happen here in St. Louis every year, and that's in partnership with Ed Domain from techly.com. We had an awesome conversation with them and those guys from Startup Voodoo. We also had the Strange Loop Conference guys give us access to be the press, so to go in and cover the event. So, if you're in the St. Louis area, man, this is like it feels like just the best time to be in town because there's a lot of people going out there, especially, I met with Bill Fink about BizSpark this morning. He's doing a phenomenal job. The Microsoft Store is doing great. I know we talked a lot about Microsoft on this particular episode, but, hey, I got to say, they're the guys who are out there and doing things, both on the developer side and the consumer side and some other stuff, and that's who I see the most, and I'm out here on the streets. So, not living on the streets, obviously, but I'm out here walking them, talking with people and stuff like that. But so we have that stuff going on. Also, we have our monthly Windows Phone meetup groups, and that's going to be coming around. So just a lot of really cool stuff. I'm tomorrow night. If you're listening to this podcast tomorrow during the day, hopefully it's up then if it's not, but if you're listening to it now, visit us at Unidev. They're located in Chesterfield. We're going to be kind of covering their speakers event where they're going to be talking about development, and they're an awesome company. Angela, the founder, CEO, Greg Alexander is a phenomenal guy from Unidev and the Net Impact. I think everybody should go check them out as well. And there's just a lot of stuff that STL Tech Talk has going on with them. Plus, we have a new gamers section on our site. We hooked up with some gamers, and we're going to be covering that stuff. So I got to say, it's just kind of exploding with everything that we have going on around here. Gus and I are working on a project that's going to be coming up. Our official STL Tech Talk apps are going to be dropping for both Windows Phone and Windows Desktop, the Windows 8 version. And I've kind of chronicled that. And Andy Long and Alejandro Ramirez, thank you guys so much. And we'll be delivering that soon. So that's my announcements. Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, let me rewind just for a minute. So Brad next week is actually not going to talk Microsoft. So we're having a non-Microsoft show. He's going to talk about Ember.js and Rails. And it used to be a .NET developer. So he's actually going to talk about his move from .NET to open source development in Java.
Gorgeous.
So that might be kind of an interesting show. So hopefully you guys like that. And I totally forgot to mention Knoxville. I'm going to be in Knoxville.
Oh, you're going to be in Knoxville.
Yeah, right after we get off the phone or the episode with Richard Campbell, I'm literally going to walk downstairs into my car and drive to Knoxville. So I will be in Knoxville for Code Stock on the 10th and 11th, or 11th, 12th, somewhere in there of July. It's Friday, Saturday. I've got a session down there. I'll be hanging out a little bit. It's a long drive, so I won't be there too long, but I'll definitely make it down there and say hi to some people and see if we can't get some more guests to pop onto the show as well.
Well, definitely. And everybody, Jeff, where can people find out more about you? You had mentioned your WordPress, but on Twitter and the Facebooks and that?
Yeah. I mean, usually most of my customers get through me through LinkedIn.
Okay.
But I'm definitely out there blogging on WordPress and tweeting when I can. So.
Okay. Absolutely, and LinkedIn, I don't know why I don't mention that more, but yes, absolutely on LinkedIn. You're a phenomenal guy and a group of phenomenal people, so thank you again for being on the show. We really can't thank you enough, and for all your hard work that goes into St. Louis Days.net and all the really fun stuff that you're doing on TFS and VS Online and all that stuff. So hopefully you had a lot of fun tonight. Gus, was there anything that you wanted to add at the end of this wonderful episode?
I just wanted to ask him a question that we ask all of our guests. They get a chance to pick one of four. But as a betting person, what technology do you see booming next year?
And I am spending all of my time on PowerShell. It is like just this magical thing that it's taken a while to learn, but man, I can do so much cool stuff with it. So I encourage everybody to check that out because every product we ship at Microsoft is going to have PowerShell APIs.
So Gus tells me every day, at least every day, hey, are you checking out PowerShell? Hey, did you know we're going to do something in PowerShell? Hey, did I tell you about PowerShell? I'm like, yes, I hear you.
So the one cool thing, I'm just going to expand on what Jeff just said. I totally agree with that. I was a PowerShell, agnostic. Stay away from PowerShell. It's evil. It's a new language. I don't want to learn it. I started playing with it about a month ago when we had to change over passwords on all of our build servers. We only have 50 of them. So, and I was able to actually grab and modify and rewrite a script to actually change all of my login IDs and passwords for all the services, and it ran in about 4 minutes.
Yeah. Whoa.
So, I mean, fantastic. And actually that fits right back into your whole DevOps initiative as well, because that's developers doing ops pieces, right? And helping it out.
Code and yeah, it's really coming fast, and I encourage, you don't have to be maybe as deep as an ops guy, but developers need to know it, and it's amazing what you can do.
I know we're kind of running short on time, but I'm gonna ask you just for a couple minutes, explain PowerShell.
Yeah. It's not. It's just a language and a set of libraries that allow you to script literally anything. Like you can just do so much, and it's not just Windows servers. There's capabilities to use PowerShell to do all kinds of other platforms. It's got some translation capabilities, so it is an incredible way to just automate, and really that's what continuous delivery and Agile really is all about, right? Get rid of that tedious stuff, get rid of that error-prone stuff, focus on business value, and
Yeah, the cool thing is you can pull in .NET DLLs, you can pull in system DLLs, you can hook into just about anything, and you can actually do RDPs and pushes and parallel tasks. And by the way, the script that I talked about, I didn't do parallels. So you could actually get that to run probably in a minute if all of the servers actually respond properly. So you can actually change the password on all the servers at almost the exact same time, technically.
Wow.
Yeah, sometime when I get back with you guys, sometime I can show you the PowerShell script I have that basically sets up an entire dev test environment.
That's cool.
They're all scripted. It's super awesome.
Yeah. Oh, so you're just the biggest tease ever. No, no. So the door is open. You can you're welcome to come on anytime, obviously, and talk to us about that or anything else you want to in the future for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate that.
And if you guys missed it, please go back and listen to Sangeeta Mundal from the Office for iPad for Microsoft last night on our podcast show. She was amazing. She was an amazing guest, just like Jeff, amazing. She was amazing. It was really cool. It was really awesome to talk to somebody about a product that people use all the time and really to kind of put a face to, because she was kind of the head specifically of Excel for Office for the iPad, and it was really, really awesome and just a good way for people to put faces to the other end of this software. And I think that gets lost a little bit, especially when we're talking about code, and it's just so easy for us to go, nah, but like somebody worked really hard to do that thing, whatever that thing is. So it's really cool to see that on the other end. So I hope people get that sort of enthusiasm and drive to continue to want to reach out and learn more that way. So again, please go back and listen to that. Again, Gus, thank you so much for being on the show, as always. And Jeff, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Jeff, it's a pleasure as always. We get to talk quite often, but it's always a pleasure to talk to you and get new insights. It's fun. I enjoy it.
Thanks, man.
Yep. So with that, from the entire STL Tech Talk crew, we love and thank you to our fans. You keep us going and all that. Plus my general enthusiasm and Gus's never-ending awesomeness. But we thank you very much, everybody, for watching and listening. So from us to you, good coding. We're out.